What if your own brother looked you in the eye and told you that your dead mother's legacy wasn't yours to claim? That's not a line from a fictional royal drama. It's the whispered allegation echoing through royal corridors, headlines, and hushed Montecito dinners. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Because behind the glittering titles and public smiles, something raw, something personal, is playing out. And it all leads back to the woman who wanted nothing more than for her sons to stay united, Princess Diana. But that's not what happened. Not even close. According to bombshell insider leaks, Prince William, future King of England, has drawn a line in the marble. And standing on the other side? His brother. His blood. Prince Harry. The very same brother who once walked behind Diana's coffin beside William with trembling hands and shattered innocence, is now being told. Not 1 cent. Not from the trust she left them. Not from the estate she hoped would protect them. Not from the jewels, the funds, the security she quietly set aside when she feared for her own life. None of it. But why now? Why would William, known for restraint and duty, suddenly slam that financial door shut, with a fury no one saw coming? And perhaps more chilling, why would he invoke a clause so obscure, so controversial, that even palace lawyers tiptoed around it for years? Because this isn't just about money. It's about revenge, about legacy, and about the woman whose ghost still haunts the palace, and whose name, whispered in legal meetings and media interviews, still holds the power to shake the monarchy to its foundations. But before we dive into vaults, wills, and vaulting egos, let's ask the one question that no royal commentator dares say on air. Did Prince William weaponize Diana's love against her other son? And if so, when did the cracks in their bond become irreparable? Because this story, this scandal, isn't new. It's been building for years. Some say it started with Spare. Others trace it back to Meghan's first tiara fitting. But the truth? It may go back further. To the very night Harry quietly tried to access part of his inheritance and discovered the account had been frozen. Not by a faceless institution, but by his brother. A legacy written in grief. Let's rewind. Diana's death in 1997 shattered the world. But for two boys, aged 15 and 12, it was more than global mourning. It was the end of safety, of bedtime hugs, of whispered advice, of everything a mother gives her children that no title, crown, or duty can replace. And Diana knew this. She knew her life was dangerous. She suspected, openly, that she might not live long enough to protect her sons into adulthood. So she did what mothers do when they're scared for their children's future. She wrote. She planned. She signed papers. And she built a financial fortress. A trust fund. A will. Personal letters sealed in private envelopes. They will need this, she allegedly told her lawyer at Harbottle and Lewis in one of her last consultations. Not just for money, but for freedom. She wasn't wrong. But she never imagined they'd be using that freedom against each other. The palace knew. The brothers didn't. What most people don't know is this. Diana's will was more complicated than headlines ever reported. Yes, she left £21 million, after taxes, to her sons. Yes, she requested they have access at 25. But what isn't widely understood? There was a discretionary clause. A hidden legal tool that gave trustees the right, under certain circumstances, to withhold or delay access to funds. And buried in that clause, according to reports, was a key phrase. Subject to the advice of the elder heir, in consultation with Her Majesty's Council. At 12 years old, William couldn't possibly have known what that meant. But at 41, he knew exactly what it gave him. And when Harry, now a royal outsider in California, sought to tap into a portion of his late mother's estate to secure private protection for his family, he ran straight into that clause. And into a brick wall named William. This isn't just a family feud. It's a constitutional crisis in disguise. Imagine this. A former senior royal, born into the monarchy, raised in the shadow of Buckingham Palace, publicly adored as Diana's cheeky one, now cut off, not by a foreign government or political party or angry media outlet, but by the one person he once trusted most, his brother. Why? Was it fear? Anger? A sense of betrayal over Harry's tell-all interviews? Or did something far more personal spark the fire? Some insiders whisper it was Meghan. Others claim it was Spare. A select few, those close to William, say it was what Harry allegedly threatened to reveal next. There are things only Diana knew, Harry once hinted during a podcast interview. Things she told me. Things I still haven't said. And maybe that was the final straw. Because a trust fund isn't just a pile of money. Not in the royal world. It's access. It's power. It's legacy. And in William's eyes, it might be leverage. The curiosity gap. What we're about to reveal. This isn't your typical palace spat. What we're going to uncover over the next hour is a saga built on secrecy, sibling rivalry, and shattered expectations. We'll take you inside. A sealed royal tribunal where one phrase, irreparable damage, was reportedly uttered by William. A Montecito dinner where Meghan Markle allegedly confronted Harry with a shocking ultimatum about the trust. The mysterious document unearthed by Diana's former butler, now in possession of a journalist ready to go public. The real reason behind the phrase, not 1 cent, and how it may have been premeditated. This is a story about two brothers. But it's also a story about a mother who tried to protect them, and how that protection may have become the very sword dividing them now. Because when love turns to silence, when inheritance turns to retaliation, and when the very memory of Diana becomes a bargaining chip, only one thing is certain. Nothing is sacred anymore. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. What would drive one brother to lock the vault and throw away the key? Because that's exactly what Prince William is now accused of doing. Not metaphorically, literally. According to leaks from a former royal staffer, there was a high-level security order issued at Kensington Palace just days after Prince Harry's informal request to access a portion of Diana's estate. The message? Vault 2B lock. Restrict. Flag for sovereign-only review. Vault 2B isn't just a room. It's the location where Diana's remaining personal artifacts, legal documents, and confidential estate files are reportedly stored under biometric access control. And here's the kicker. Only 2 individuals had authorized access at the time. Prince William and King Charles. Not Harry. Not even his lawyers. Now think about that. The son who Diana famously said was the one most like me emotionally. The one she told friends was her healer, is the one now being treated like a foreign threat. And it didn't end there. Because just hours after that vault was locked down, a private call took place between Prince William and a figure whose identity has not been confirmed. But sources claim the conversation ended with 7 explosive words. If he pushes, we go nuclear. Legally, that wasn't a sibling spat. That was a declaration of war. 2 brothers. 1 vault. No way back. You might be wondering, how did we get here? How did these 2 brothers, who once leaned on each other in the darkest moment of their lives, become legal adversaries over their mother's memory? It wasn't one moment. It was a series of betrayals, both real and perceived. And it started long before Megxit. It began the moment Meghan Markle entered the royal frame and unknowingly activated a system that was already cracked. Remember when Harry proposed? What seemed like a fairy tale was, behind palace doors, already setting alarm bells ringing. According to insiders, Diana's inheritance was quietly reviewed during that time by royal legal teams to ensure there were no undue accesses should Harry marry someone not bound by British state security protocols. That's legal speak for, what if she takes the money and runs? Sound harsh? It was. But the royals don't play when it comes to trust, secrecy, and legacy. And William, ever the planner, ever the dutiful one, had already started consulting with the royal trustees. Yes, those same people who manage the Queen's private estate. The ones who hold the keys to Diana's trust. The meeting no one was supposed to hear about. Here's where things get truly chilling. There was a meeting in 2022. Unpublicized. Unrecorded. Undisclosed. 3 people attended. Prince William, a senior crown lawyer, a royal trustee representative. The topic? Diana Fund access. Risk analysis and oversight review. The phrasing alone sounds clinical. Cold. But what it meant was something far more personal. Could Harry, now a non-working royal, legally claim access to his portion of Diana's inheritance if the family deemed his activities potentially reputationally damaging? Think about the language. Reputationally damaging. Not illegal. Not disqualifying. Just embarrassing. And under the obscure clause in Diana's estate, that was enough to delay or deny access. If advised by the elder heir. And that's exactly what William did. he advised, and the door slammed shut. Harry's rage. Meghan's reaction. A marriage under pressure. Now picture Harry, thousands of miles away in Montecito, trying to secure security for his wife and children, trying to build an independent life, and then finding out his own mother's legacy, the very thing meant to protect him, was no longer reachable. You can bet it didn't go over well. Sources close to the Sussex camp say Harry was utterly blindsided. One insider said, it wasn't even about the money anymore. It was about principle. His mother's love was being used as a weapon. And Meghan? She reportedly took it as a personal betrayal. Not just from William, from the system. And that's when things started leaking. The whispers. The passive-aggressive interview comments. The strategic podcast teases. Harry started hinting that there were things he still hadn't said. That Diana had told him things. That he had letters. And suddenly, the palace was rattled. Because one thing they fear more than rebellion is exposure. Diana's voice returns. A journalist's discovery. Just as tensions reached boiling point, a royal biographer, working on a book commemorating 30 years since Diana's death, came across something extraordinary. A sealed envelope, filed deep within the archive of a former royal staffer, never digitized. Inside, a personal letter from Diana to her private solicitor, dated 6 months before her passing. And in it, Diana makes a haunting prediction. If my sons ever come to be on different paths, I ask that my wishes be honored equally, no matter their titles, no matter their roles. That line, underlined twice, stunned the journalist. It wasn't a legal document, but it was emotional gold, a moral will, and yet, it carried no legal weight under the trust's terms. But what it did do was reignite the public's fury. Media frenzy and the public divide. Headlines exploded. Did William betray Diana's wishes? Harry shut out of mother's trust. Legal but cruel? Montecito meltdown. Meghan accuses royals of financial warfare. And the court of public opinion? Torn. Some sided with William, arguing that Harry had forfeited royal privileges when he left. Others demanded justice, accusing the palace of emotional blackmail. But deep down, one question echoed louder than any other. What would Diana think? And that, perhaps, is the most painful part of all. Because this wasn't just money. This was about love, about memory, about whose story gets to be told. And right now, it's being written in silence, signatures, and sealed vaults. So where does this leave the brothers now? Not speaking, not negotiating, and most definitely not sharing. Because what started as a legal technicality has now turned into the emotional battlefield of the decade. A frozen account, a locked vault, and two brothers who once promised to protect each other in their mother's memory, now using that memory to punish one another. But remember that Montecito dinner? That overheard conversation? That chilling moment when Meghan's voice cut through the candlelight and said, if they block it, we fight it. That's where we go next. Because what came out of that dinner set off a chain reaction no one, not even the palace, was prepared for. And what Prince Harry did after that would leave William absolutely livid and force the royals to take a legal action that shocked even their closest allies. What happens when a mother's final wish becomes her son's greatest battlefield? That's the tragedy of this chapter. Because while the world remembers Princess Diana as the people's princess, graceful, glamorous, compassionate, what often gets lost in the glossy montages and charity retrospectives is the quiet urgency with which she fought to protect her boys. Not from the press, not even from the paparazzi, but from the institution itself. The same machine that polished her image while isolating her behind palace walls. The same system she believed would try to control her sons. So she made a plan, a legacy, and a final wish. But like most things in the royal family, especially when power, perception, and money collide, that wish would be twisted, redacted, delayed, until it became unrecognizable. Diana didn't live to see it, but her sons did. And now they're weaponizing it against each other. A will written in fear. Let's rewind to the mid-90s. Diana was no longer a royal wife. Her separation from Charles had become a full-blown divorce. The marriage was officially over. But her battle with the royal system? That was only just beginning. She knew things. Things about how the crown operated behind closed doors. She had seen documents, heard secrets, witnessed cover-ups, and above all, she feared her sons would become pawns. Especially Harry. She reportedly confided to close friends that William would always have the machine behind him, the safety net of duty, succession, and image. But Harry? Harry was vulnerable, not because he was weak, but because he was emotional, empathetic, impulsive, like her. So she did what only a mother could. She tried to future-proof her love, through her will. And according to insiders who've seen both the public and private versions of that will, Diana was specific, not just about what she was leaving, but why. Equal love, unequal power. Here's where things get complicated. Diana's publicly known will, signed in 1993 and updated in 1996, stated that the bulk of her estate would be held in trust for her two sons until they turned 25. That included jewelry collections, cash assets from her divorce settlement, personal items of sentimental value, investment holdings, future earnings from image rights and interviews. It was split equally, 50-50. No complications, no drama. On the surface,